So tell me just a little bit about what we're going to talk about is completely paranormal. It is something that you have had experiences since your job, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and your job was working at a women's correctional facility.
Yes.
Okay.
So I started working there in January of 2021
Uh-huh.
and I ended up leaving July, like very end of July 2021.
Okay.
And things started happening around the June portion after training was all done and I was alone on the hall.
Okay.
And
So when you
it
say you were
definitely started freaking me out.
okay, so you said you were alone on the hall. What does that mean then? In
So, in this particular facility, we
mhm.
had six different buildings,
Okay.
and in each building there was around two halls.
Okay.
And so, with that, they would put one correctional officer for like around. For me, I only had about 28 inmates,
Hmm.
but others they could have up to like 40 inmates. And so it would just be me on the hall with the inmates.
Okay. Wow. So it was just you all by yourself.
Yes.
Wow, that seems pretty intense as is. Just even
It
without any of
definitely
the
was.
paranormal part to it, it just seems like it'd be really tough to have to deal with 28 individuals.
It definitely was a lot going into it
Hmm.
because you're not totally sure how they're going to react to you or if they are going to listen or just in general how hectic it is trying to get them from place to place because it was a little more of a campus style since it was
Okay.
a level 1, level 2 security prison. So they were
Okay.
allowed to leave if people were watching them to like go to chow and get lunch or to go to school.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. So it wasn't maximum security then. What you're saying, it was a very minimum security
Yes.
type prison. Okay. And how old is this prison?
I believe it was built in like 1804. It was
Okay. Oh, that's pretty
definitely
old.
super early 1800s. I believe it was the first women's prison in Virginia.
Okay.
And so they have this one building that they actually shut down because I think there's asbestos in it, but it used to be open. And some of the other correctional officers have said they've experienced spooky things happen in there. And it's just one of those buildings you walk by it and you immediately you're just drawn to it. Like you can't stop staring at it. It
Really?
looks very, very old, very haunted.
Really? That's interesting. So, has anybody else ever had any kind of stories that come from that prison at all?
Absolutely. So when I was training, I would be one on one with another officer and basically do kind of just shadow their job throughout the day. And I had a couple different people, and I'd ask them, like, hey, have you experienced anything? And every single person had a different story,
Hmm.
which really was interesting because, there's usually that one story that everyone knows, but it's like every single person I talked to, something weird had happened to them
Really?
previously.
So, going into that, are you a believer or are you a skeptic?
Definitely a believer.
Okay.
I've had a lot of things happen to me
Hmm.
throughout my life since I was a child, and my mom has also had experiences. And then when I was 11, my father passed away. And after that, a lot of things started happening in our house, like my dog following, like nothing, like with his eyes, like moving across the room and then barking at it.
Really?
And there's just nothing there.
Have you always suspected that that's your dad then?
Absolutely. There's been like you get a different feeling when it's a family
Sure.
member because we also I was really close with my great grandmother and
Okay.
we thought we kind of had hauntings of her as well. Our big thing in the house was the china cabinet light would turn on and we were like, oh, they're just like saying hello, they're visiting. And like it always kind of freaked me out a little bit but as a kid, of course, I'm not trying to freak myself out. I'm like, oh, must be an electrical thing, must be an electrical thing, until the china cabinet was unplugged and it would still turn on.
Really? Oh, that's really interesting.
And we noticed that it would start to turn on more frequently if
Hmm.
we were really stressed out about a situation or we were just really like having a tough time. It would turn on to kind of be like oh, I'm still here, I'm
Right.
still with you.
Right.
And so it stopped being as much of a scary type of haunting and more of like, okay, I'm feeling really reassured.
Something like a comforting, some type of
Yeah.
comfort from the other side. And a lot of people would want that. I mean,
Hmm.
I know it doesn't sound appealing to some people, but if you've lost a loved one, it's nice to know that they're still communicating with you, and that there is no death. It's just a transition, to the next phase. So tell us a little bit more then about this. Is it one incident or is it multiple incidents since the prison?
So it's been multiple instances, and it's coming up on a year of this still happening. The very first time this happened, I was sleeping, and I had to be up at 4:30 in the morning to
Mhm.
like get ready and go to work. And I woke up around like let's say like 3:45, and I like had swung my arm over and I hit my boyfriend. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird. Like, why did I just swing my arm over?" And so I woke up, and I just kind of tried to like get more comfortable, check the time. I'm like, oh great, I have 30 minutes left of sleeping. And then like right when I'm getting comfortable and I like close my eyes, I feel two pokes on my arm.
Really?
Like just like really like it felt like something touched me twice, two pokes. And it was so realistic that
So,
I thought it was my cat.
huh?
Because sometimes, the cat will come up like under the bed and kind of like paw at me or
Sure,
something.
sure.
And she gets locked in there sometimes. And so I kind of just like brushed it off. And I like was able to fall back asleep for like 15 minutes. And then when I got up and started getting ready, I opened the door and both of my cats were outside of the door. And and then I just couldn't stop thinking about it. This
Right.
whole drive to work, this whole time at work, I'm looking around, I'm like, what's going on? Because I had already felt like I was being watched when
Hmm.
I was in. So in our little control office, there's um there's a tiny window on the door where the inmates can like knock on the door, be like, hey, I need something.
Sure.
And when they would all be locked away for count, because we'd have to go down the hall, make sure everyone's there like a couple times a day,
Hmm.
I kept seeing this person in the window, like kind of out of the corner of my eye, wearing the yellow shirt, and they use yellow shirts for recreation outside.
Hmm.
And so I was like, "Who is there? Like they're supposed to be gone. They're supposed to be in their cell right now, and there'd be no one there.
Wow.
No one there. Just kept feeling these eyes, and then of course that same week that happened to me.
Huh. So now, so you feel like you brought something home with you from work then, essentially?
That's what I was definitely thinking because I already knew it was such a haunted area
Hmm.
and I already felt a little uneasy being in there. And I also had a situation where I was working in the laundry room and I felt really kind of uneasy there, kind of saw like little shadows out of the corner of my eye or something. And so I was already a little freaked out. But I recently contacted Spirit Chasers of Northern Virginia,
Okay.
and they're kind of like a little like they do it for free. They just kind of try to help people out, bless their homes, get rid of some entities. And she was saying she's not positive that it came from the prison because it seems like a lot of the things it had been doing was almost like a male oriented figure of some sort.
Oh,
So I'm
interesting.
wondering, since my duplex is already a little bit older, I'm wondering if it was already here since we had moved in a month prior to these things started happening.
I see. I see. But now, however, working at the prison, working at something that seems like it's haunted, I can see where you might feel as though you brought something home, because if that has a high level of energy there,
Hmm.
and you haven't had that experience before at your house, then it feels like it just kind of switched over, then that could also be something there. And I mean, I'm not a spirit chaser type person. Those people, they're the professionals, they know what they're doing. But in my opinion, it just seems like it could be something that possibly did attach to you. Now, do they know that it's a male? And you were mentioning something about it mimicking your boyfriend, correct?
Yes. So that was the most recent thing that happened, and that really freaked me out. I was just talking on the phone with a friend, and he was on speakerphone, so I'm like fully engaged in this conversation,
Hmm.
and I hear Simon, and that's my cat's name. That's what we were like, Simon, like whenever he's scratching the carpet or something.
Right.
I hear it in my boyfriend's voice, like out in the hallway, and I completely cut off my friend. I'm like, think I think Peter just came home. Like he's supposed to still be at work for at least another hour. That's really odd. And so
Right.
I like yelled out there. I was like, "Are you home?" And I didn't hear anything back. And I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna ignore it for this conversation."
Right.
I hang up the phone. I go out there. There's no one there. His car's not here. I text him. He's
And
like, "No, I'm still at work."
and is that something that both of you would do to the cat? Is that a frequent occurrence to kind of tell the cat to stop? Like, hey, Simon, stop.
Oh,
Just kind of.
absolutely.
So
Simon is our little demon cat who
got it.
likes to knock things over and stuff. So
So you're
we're
constantly
always
scolding him.
yelling at
Yeah.
him.
So because of that, I see then the relation to maybe some type of entity hearing that over and over again, that it repeats it.
hmm
Was the cat getting into trouble at that time?
I didn't hear anything going on outside. Like I usually can hear his claws like hitting the carpet or something,
Okay.
but I didn't go out and check. But I have seen the cat like stare at the corner, growl at the
Hmm.
corner, run around and like yowl, like "Meow," and like run like really fast around the house. And I used to just kind of be like, oh, it's just the cat being weird. But then when he started like staring at the corner, and then all of these other things are also happening.
Right.
Like, what is he seeing that I'm not seeing?
Exactly. And so it's been, you said, almost a year now. Has anything
Mhm.
transpired from that? Has it gone away, or is it
Um,
still continuing?
it's still continuing. And my birthday was last month, and so I had a couple people over, and they had some questions about it. I was letting them know different things that had happened. And then we like come back inside from outside on the porch, and I feel like a poke on my shoulder. And I'm like, oh my God, my friends are just messing with me. They think this is so funny. And I
Right.
look behind me, and there's like actually no one around me at all.
Really?
And that same night, we were actually in this room, and my friend brought over this really goofy, like electric type toy guitar where like you press it and it makes a noise,
Hmm.
and it's sitting over there in the corner and just goes off. No one's standing near it. Nothing's happening. People kind of almost didn't even notice it, but I just noticed it start going off. Nothing's around it. I'm like, this thing hears me talking about it, and it's like, nope, I haven't left yet.
So it seems like this thing's really trying to interact in a different way, almost like a poltergeist. It's doing things that are more physical contact and things that you could hear. But have you ever seen anything like shadows or anything like that?
No, which is the complete opposite of what I would expect.
Right.
Like all of my other previous experiences have been very much more like electrical or like, oh, I see something. But
Right.
I've never been physically touched and
Hmm.
like physically like I really just heard something
Yeah.
until with this.
That's really
Um,
interesting. Yeah, that really makes me feel that maybe that type of communication is what it's good at. I don't know. I
mhm,
mean, I'm still trying to understand a lot of the paranormal in the way of, what are these things that they call like orbs, or what are the shadows and the different things that happen, and why are they all so different, and why are these different ways of communication happening? And maybe it's just that entity just knows how to control it in a way,
mhm.
like the audible
Yeah.
sounds and everything like that. And then that physical touch. But I mean, like you said, you don't feel threatened by it, right?
Not physically threatened. Like I haven't woken up to mysterious cuts or bruises or anything like that. But I mean, it definitely your heart kind of jumps out of your chest every time it happens.
Sure.
And there was one time where I was like playing guitar and singing by myself, and then I hear three claps right after the song's done. And I'm
Really?
like, that's creepy. I didn't want anyone listening to me in the first place, and now I know that this thing's listening to me.
Yeah, that is interesting. So, claps is in just almost like an applause type claps, or is it like
It
a just
was three,
just three
and that
claps?
was yeah, like
Got
it
it.
definitely, which was interesting because a lot of people have said, oh, it's a mockery of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, with the three claps. So I was like, is this more demonic than I
Hmm.
believed? But looking back and like seeing how a lot of these things kind of seem like just like pranks, I'm not totally sure how malicious that actually was supposed to be.
I want to thank you for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. You know, we talk about a lot of crazy stuff here, so if you want to hear more, just like and subscribe to the channel. It'd really help us out a lot. And plus, if you have a crazy story, whether it be an alien abduction, near-death experience, or something of the paranormal, or a glitch in the matrix, please let us know. Share it in the comments. We'd love to have you on the show.